Hey everybody, Erick Landon here again with another top 10. Today is this guy's turn right here, and I am so sad to say that this console didn't even have 30 JRPGs. It barely has 20 JRPGs that came out of Japan. That's really pathetic, right? But anyway, that's the deal. So I barely managed to put together 10 games that are hidden gems. And well, if you're a JRPG gamer like me, you're probably gonna say these games are not hidden. Some of them are, some of them are not, some of them are actually popular amongst us JRPG gamers. So please don't be so disappointed. And therefore, unfortunately, there won't be top 10 most unknown JRPGs for the GameCube, because, you know, let's say there are 20 and 10 are hidden gems and the other 20 are really popular, like, I don't know, Fire Emblem, Tales of Symphonia, Paper Mario, and Pokemon games, etc. So there won't be an unknown video of this console, I'm sorry, but hey, at least there's gonna be a hidden gems video. So with that said, let's begin. Number 10, Mega Man X Command Mission. So this game opens our top with me being totally aware that it's far from being hidden. But like I explained before, it's not like I had too many games to choose from for this video. In any case, this is not your typical Mega Man with platforming and side-scrolling elements. Nope, this is a turn-based RPG and it's very solid. I even recommend this game to those not interested in Mega Man, because if they like JRPGs, this is something they just can't miss. It's not a masterpiece, of course, but in my opinion, it's the best Mega Man RPG ever, more so than Mega Man Legends 1 and 2 or any other. It also came out for the PS2, by the way. I have played both versions and didn't really notice that much difference, so you'll be fine playing either of them. Number 9 goes to Phantasy Star Online 3, Card Revolution. Many people are familiar with the Phantasy Star Online franchise, especially those who played the first 2 episodes or versions for the Dreamcast and the GameCube and the Xbox. But many gamers overlooked this one just because it didn't have a hack and slash battle system, but a card turn-based one instead. Now, to get the gist of this game, you'll have to go through some slow and boring tutorials, and it'll be a while before you get used to it. Which is another reason why lots of fans from the franchise destroyed this game with criticism. Its greatest mistake was to be called Phantasy Star Online 3, as if it was a sequel or a part of the trilogy. Well, it is! Why couldn't they just call it something different and turn it into a spin-off? But anyways, the gameplay is sort of like a strategy RPG combining dice and cards into a very obnoxious and complicated mechanic, but I say this positively because, trust me, once you get the gist of it, you'll come to like it. It will take me an entire video to explain the system, so instead I recommend you to try it for yourself. It's pretty decent. Number 8 goes to Custom Robo Battle Revolution. I know many of you are going to argue the fact that I put this game on the list, since the battle system is a little different from your everyday RPG. Well, it's an action RPG with customization elements like most mech games out there. This actually belongs to a not so popular franchise developed by a company called Noise, who has mostly made this game since 1999. There aren't that many, actually, 5, and I have no clue what the other games are like since there are only 2 released in North America. I know there's one for the Nintendo DS that I'm considering putting in one of my tops one day, but that'll have to wait. Custom Robo Battle Revolution for the GameCube, on the other hand, is the one that I've played, and to my surprise, considering I don't really like games with mechas, I actually enjoyed it. The battle system is somewhat addicting because it plays in real time and it's always a one-on-one battle inside a 3-dimensional room. It's pretty fun, nothing extraordinary mind you, but I think it's one of those games that every once in a while you might end up playing for hours. So definitely give it a chance if you can. Number 7 goes to Amazing Island. Published by Sega, this Monster Ranger clone actually exceeded my expectations. When I first saw it, I got the feeling that it was going to be terrible, and since games such as this are not exactly my cup of tea, I knew I was in for a low-budget monster training RPG. Nevertheless, I found myself with a joyful experience that I couldn't believe I had spent a few hours in. It's full of mini-games, and sometimes it plays more like one of those party games, but it's still an RPG in which you battle your enemies in one-on-one battles, training your monster in the process. If you like these sorts of games, Amazing Island might not be a bad idea for you. It's not a great game, but it's still okay. Number 6 goes to Virtua Fighter. Virtua Quest, which also came out for the PS2, also published by Sega. So it's a Virtua Fighter spin-off that plays much like an action-adventure type of game. It's pretty decent, and its only relationship story-wise with Virtua Fighter is that the characters from the franchise make appearances as mere data from which you study in order to learn the necessary skills to battle your enemies. So this game, much like a fighting game in 3D style combining elements of brawling, could be argued if it's really an RPG or not. The same thing happened with games like Gungrave or The Bouncer, which have similar gameplay mechanics, but since the studio Sega AM2 and TOSE decided to call it an action RPG, well, who are we to counter that? In any case, I think at least in terms of narrative, character development and in-depth story situations could very well define it as an RPG. Now, is it good? Is it bad? It's pretty decent, and it has some interesting gameplay mechanics, so play it if you get the chance. Evolution Worlds. Well, Evolution Worlds is actually a compilation of the two Evolution RPGs for the Sega Dreamcast. The first title was technically butchered, and the second was pretty much left intact, all to fit into one game for the GameCube. Yeah, well, I didn't like that either, but leaving that aside, I think this is still a hidden gem that not too many are familiar with. It's a turn-based RPG with a story that's practically for kids, but with interesting elements that will definitely keep you curious about it. The game plays similar to dungeon crawlers sometimes, with some roguelike elements here and there, but overall it's your classic RPG with a 3-party member setup. I only recommend this game if you haven't played the Dreamcast versions, because the fact that they bunched up the two games together in one could upset you a little bit. Other than that, I see no reason to reject Evolution Worlds, since it's a pretty fun game. Really, I recommend it. Number 4, Lost Kingdoms 2. Here we have a weird action RPG in which you play with a hand of 4 cards that can summon monsters to fight your enemies. It is the sequel to a game that I'm about to cover up next. The plot here is cool, but almost unimportant to the gameplay itself, since the battle system is what truly stands out here. Battles are fought in real time, as you can see right now, where enemies are already there and not in random encounters. Cards have several effects, sometimes elemental, that can affect the entire battle, leaving some strategy behind your choices. You can also combine them to make new cards. Overall, it's a really fun game, but I think the first one is better, perhaps not in terms of story, considering both are a little weak on that, but on battle system and gameplay itself. Nonetheless, Lost Kingdoms 2 is a cool sequel and totally a hidden gem. Another game that I truly recommend. Okay, now for the real deal, a game that thanks to both the cover and the title, many people overlooked and ignored. That was a great mistake, since this game is awesome! In the sequel, they tried to change a few important details in order to improve the experience, but I think it was a bad idea. Still fun to play, but not as fun as this one. Here you have actual encounters and puzzles combined together inside every area you visit, and the card battle system playing as an action RPG in which you can fight beside your monsters in real time gave it something very unique. Even though there are tons of other RPGs with gameplay mechanics that include cards, Lost Kingdoms just had something special that appealed to me more than all the others. I don't know, it's got something peculiar that attracts me to it, even though I mostly play RPGs for the stories. So this is a great game that I strongly recommend to anybody looking for a solid experience, whether they're into RPGs or not. It's just something that you must play. And since we're talking about cards in this entire top, why not mention the already popular Peyton Kato series? These are obviously not that hidden anymore, and I'm so glad for that because they are tremendously good turn-based RPGs, also with cards as the basis of their battle systems. However, in terms of story, these guys are actually really good. This prequel, on the other hand, was not written by the same author as its predecessor, but it's still as good in terms of story. It was made by Tree Crescendo and Monolith Soft, and it is the very last JRPG release for the GameCube that came out of Japan. To be honest with you, I prefer the first Peyton Katos by far, but this one didn't disappoint me at all. Even though the battle system plays a little differently, I still found this game to be very good. Ruined by this particular boss battle right here. So if you want to know more, watch my Rage Quit video that I'll leave at the end. But leaving that aside, Peyton Katos Origins, it's a really great JRPG. And number 1, Peyton Katos, Eternal Wings and the Lost Ocean. Yeah, finally we have arrived at my favorite JRPG of the entire list and my favorite turn-based RPG for the GameCube. Very recently I finished this game for the second time and it left me quite satisfied, just like in the first time. You know how you sometimes play an RPG and really love it, then after sometimes you play it again and you feel different, maybe you now dislike it a little bit, or like it even more? Well, if that has ever happened to you, then you'll probably understand my experience with this game. Much like in its prequel, the battle system delves upon cards that you have in your decks. You get one deck per character for the entire game that keeps growing the more you level up. So the more you progress, the more cards you are allowed to use in your turns. They are accommodated randomly, so yeah, this game uses an RNG system that can be quite friendly at times or quite severe at others. It's all a matter of combining strategy and luck. But trust me, it's very addictive, just like the story, which is extremely good. And guess who wrote the story for this game? Masaru Kato. Yeah, the same guy that was behind Chrono Trigger, Chrono Cross, Children of Mana, Heroes of Mana, Sands of Destruction, The Legend of Legacy, and co-wrote the story of Xenogears. He is my favorite game scriptwriter of all time, and if you play this game, you will definitely notice his style and work pretty much everywhere. So if you haven't gotten your hands on Peyton Katos, do yourself a favor and get it. It's truly a masterpiece. Okay guys, that's my video. Thanks for watching. And on a side note, I didn't put games like Medabots Infinity. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's really hidden, it's pretty unknown, because that game is really bad. It's just plain terrible. And I think that's it. I think the other games, GameCube RPGs that are not on this list are pretty well known. So this, along with my other videos, pretty much cover every single GameCube JRPG ever made. Cool, huh? Anyways, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends. See you next time.